Hello, you crept up on me there. Welcome, welcome. Come on in and join me. Oh dear, I just added in this week's vlog for you. Yeah, yeah. How are you anyway? Yeah, I know, the weather's not been very good, has it? No. Yeah, it's windy and rainy here today, although it's quite bright at the moment, but the old boat's a little bit rocking, so I've drawn the curtains so it didn't distract you too much. So, this is a Saturday, the 31st of October 2020, and I thought, being the Halloween Eve, I'd do something different. I've never attempted anything like this before. I just hope it works. Anyway, in this week's vlog, I'm going to start off by explaining a little bit of Halloween, where it comes from, how it's celebrated, and from there we'll go into Harecastle Tunnel. Now, Harecastle Tunnel has not yet featured in my vlogs because we're still way back down in Great Hayward. But when we do get to Harecastle Tunnel, I'll tell you more about the tunnel. But for today, this is different. It's something very special. My alter ego has joined me, Esac Nai. He has written and will read, along with the help from Jack, who you may recall popped up in one of my Ashby Canal videos, and will read you a ghost story as we go through the Harecastle Tunnel. Ah dear, I hope you enjoy it anyway. So without further ado, let's get on and find out all about Halloween. The origins of Halloween date back to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. It's actually spelt Samhain, but pronounced Samhain. The Celts, who lived 2,000 years ago, marked the end of summer and the harvest, and the beginning of the dark, cold winter. A time of year that was often associated with human death. The Celts believed that on the night before the new year, the boundary between the worlds of the living and the dead became blurred. On the night of October the 31st, they celebrated Samhain, where it was believed that the ghosts of the dead returned to Earth. In the year 609 AD, Pope Boniface IV dedicated the Pantheon in Rome in honour of all Christian martyrs. All Souls' Day was celebrated similarly to Samhain, with big bonfires, parades and dressing up in costumes. The All Saints' Day celebration was also called All Hallows or All Hallow Mass, meaning All Saints' Day. And the night before it, the traditional night of Samhain in the Celtic religion began to be called All Hallows Eve, and eventually Halloween. Today we celebrate Halloween with dressing up, trick and treating, sometimes with big bonfires and celebrations, especially in the United States of America. And along with all these, we also celebrate this evening with traditional ghost stories. So let's head on into Harecastle Tunnel now and do our bit.
Jennie stood looking out of the window. The rain was lashing down, striking the window pane with a force that seemed to reverberate around the room. Inside, the clock ticked heavily in the corner, and the embers of the fire glowed a crimson red as the draught from the chimney howled down onto them. This was no night to be going out, but with the customers long gone, it would soon be time to close the entrance door, wipe down the tables, and venture homeward. Finally, the clock struck 11. But there was no need to ring the bell for last orders. All was quiet, and had been for the past hour. Jennie made a move towards the door, which burst open, as if hit by a momentous force. The immediate effect, blowing all the table mats and decoration across the room, and the cellar door to bang shut. Jennie shivered as a chill went down her spine, drew a huge sigh, and went over to the door, which was now festooned with the harvest of leaves from the big oak that stood outside. It took some effort to close the door, but Jennie managed it, locked and bolted, and released the log holding the internal door open, which now swung shut. The oil lamp in the corner flickered and went out. It was so pitch black, and with no moonlight to help, difficult to find her way across the room without falling over the now scattered chairs several times over. Jennie was a rotund woman in her late 30s, and with a demeanour sufficient to ward off any unwelcome advances. Dressed in the traditional innkeeper's flowing apron, and stained with many years of spilled beer and spirits, and with a pocket still hanging loose from when it caught on the cellar door handle many weeks ago. Her language at times was less than ladylike. Somehow, Jennie felt for the bar, and hand over hand slowly made her way to what she hoped was the behind the bar access. Catching her shins on yet another stool, and swearing like many of her regulars would be proud of. she fell face down on the floor, banging her nose as she did so. Finally, Jennie found her the way into behind the bar and hauled herself up. She knew this side of the bar better and quickly found the shelf, upon which was a candle and matches. After several attempts, she managed to strike a match and light the candle, which flickered in an almost invisible draught. Holding the candle, she felt the hot wax dripping onto her left palm, but it gave just enough light as she made her way over to the oil lamp. Shaking the lamp, the sound of oil was quite apparent, and still inside its glass mantle. There was no way it could have been extinguished by the wind. Yet, having placed a wax blob on the bar counter, she stood the candle upright and started to release the mechanism that gained her access to the wick and to light it. As she did so, a voice called out of the darkness.
Don't light the lamp.
Jennie jumped up in shock and dropped the lamp, which rolled across the bar and fell onto the floor, with a sound that certainly meant it had smashed into several pieces.
Who's there?
Cried out Jennie, and looking over to the fireplace, saw a shape huddled on the seat inside the large ingle nook fireplace. Thoughts raced through her head. No one was there earlier. No one had come into her knowledge, and yet there was something or someone there for sure. The hair on her neck stood to attention, and she shivered. Goosebumps covered her flesh. Despite wearing clothes, she could certainly feel their prickly sensation.
Put a knock on gown. I'm cold.
The voice echoed back. Jennie was unsure if that voice sounded familiar or not, and with slow, deliberate steps made her way to the fireside, picking up the huge black poker as she did so. She threw a log on, more to try and get a better idea of who was there than for the heat. This caused sparks to fly up the chimney and the log to smoke, although it would be some time before there was a flicker of a flame. The shape never moved, and for some reason Jennie, although petrified at not being able to see who it was, or indeed if he was alone, at least she knew it was a he. That was something. She clenched the poker and, undecided if to strike out with it, was stopped in her tracks.
Sorry if I startled you, my cherub.
Now there was only one person that dared to call her that.
Is that you, William?
She asked.
It is I.
Came the reply. Questions flew from her lips, with barely a breath in between. How long have you been there? What are you doing there? Where did you come from? And on she went. Eventually, out of breath, she stopped, not even thinking about if William was hungry or needed a drink. Probably because she was full of anger at what he'd just done to her. Another tirade of words let forth at him. Finally, allowed to get a word in, he asked,
Do you remember when we met on that summer's day?
Instantly, she was taken aback to that day, on the farm where her father lived as a cowman. She had been walking across the yard to the big barn when a voice had called out to her. Embarrassed, she had looked up to see William staring at her, holding a posy of wild flowers, no doubt picked from her father's garden. But that did not matter. Her eyelids fluttered as he stepped down from the hay bales and recited some strange poem to her, the words of which had long ago been lost in her memory. The anger that had swelled up in her was all but now receded, and she made a move towards him. William at once said,
Stay where you are, my cherub. The flickering light from the fire is dancing in your hair.
Jennie giggled quietly. She knew exactly what she was intending to do with him when they got home. They must have talked for ages, but eventually Jennie woke up from her slumped position in front of the fire. William had gone, obviously back to his work, and it was only now she thought about why she had not offered him something to eat and to drink. Slumberly, she threw back the shutters and allowed some light to fall in on the darkened room. Taking a broom, she went to clean up the broken lamp from the floor. Only there was no broken lamp, just a sovereign lying there, which she immediately pocketed before anyone came in and saw it. Come to think of it, there was no mess either. Maybe she had had a bad dream. Probably that whiskey she drank to relieve the boredom last night. Throwing her robe over her shoulders, she went out into the daylight and made for home. At the end of the track, she noticed a group of women deep in conversation. As she walked past, they glanced up and stopped talking. Alice came over to her, touched her arm, and said sorry to hear, then walked on.
Hey, wait!
She screamed.
Sorry to hear what?
Alice did not stop, but Jennie swore she said something about William. Tired now, Jennie made her way up the track to the cottage. This time a huddled figure was stood in the doorway to her home. On seeing Jennie, he informed her that William had been involved in a tunnel collapse and was presumed dead.
He cannot be.
She explained.
We spent the night in the inn.
Jennie looked him in the eyes, demanding to know when this happened. Just before 11 last evening, came the reply.
Well, yeah, that was something entirely different. As I say, I've never attempted anything like that before, and I really hope you enjoyed it. Next week we'll be back to a normal cruising video, but until then, I've got to thank all my new subscribers and for the amazing comments that I've been receiving. I really do appreciate it when you interact with me through Facebook posts or through YouTube comments. It really does mean a lot to me, and I can't say anything other than really thank you very much. It means so much, and please do subscribe if you've not already done so. And if you want YouTube to tell you that when I release a vlog, then you can ring the bell. Ah dear. Right, well, that just really leaves me to wish you all a very, very pleasant weekend, or what's left of it. Have a terrific week next week. Keep well and keep safe. And I look forward to catching up with you all next week on Sunday on Morning Star. Until then, ta-da!